As you wander through Hillsborough, where Antique and Village Street cross, you will probably anticipate for the area to be quiet and filled with abandonment. But instead, you find the Daniel Boone Village, somewhere where antiques are to the left and right of you, and where you will find carefree and innocent children blowing dandelions around the area. There is one shop that stands out more than others within the Daniel Boone Village, and that is Vulcan's Forge. Vulcan's Forge is a blacksmith shop ran by a town favorite, Robert Paul Gove, but you may know him as Paul, the sarcastic man driving his truck no matter where he goes. Paul knew when he was younger he had a special talent creating objects that represented the building blocks of life through metal. Before diving deep into his passion, his main profession was a land surveyor, and he was a blacksmith as a side job. Being a land surveyor, he has traveled to many parts of the world where he looked like an outsider, including Tennessee, Florida, Germany, and Bangladesh. Traveling the world was such a huge part of Paul's life that his family went with him, and his son even found love overseas. After spending a lot of time traveling, he decided, even in the same outfit, to settle down in Hillsborough to take on welding as being his true profession. However, there were two challenges in his life that would make his hands grow still and that he would forever talk about. His first challenge was in 2013. Paul suffered a traumatic ankle injury. Unable to put weight on his foot, he wasn't able to come to his shop. He has recovered well and has no problems currently with his ankle, but he didn't think that was going to be the case then. Thinking that was the only challenge he was going to face to postpone his practicing, in 2016, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. Paul is known as a fighter, but never wanted to be seen weak, so he did whatever he needed to do to keep the same smile on people around him, but also on himself. Paul didn't let these two challenges bring him down at all. He was disabled for a little while with each obstacle, but he didn't let that stop him to getting back to where he belonged, doing what he loved. Ever since he was young, Paul was always fascinated with how you can turn a simple piece of metal to something so unique. He's not at his shop every day throughout the week, so he has time for his family, personal time, but mostly his health. However, when Paul pulls his truck into the parking lot and opens the door to Vulcan's Forge, there's no way to stop who comes through those doors and Paul creating his masterpieces. People come to Paul for whatever they need, no matter the size or request, because of his rareness and craftiness. He doesn't like to disappoint, so he makes sure they leave satisfied. He will also attract young blacksmiths to his shop that have questions, want advice, or just want to admire Paul's work so that they can be just as good as Paul one day. Paul emphasizes how he doesn't weld for the money, because blacksmiths don't make that much. However, he does it for the smile he puts on people's faces. When he isn't catering to the youth, he is creating masterpieces. Paul is so talented with his hands that with a little bit of patience, he can create the key to everyone's heart. Welding takes a certain type of person. From the start of the long and rigorous process, you have to be focused. Turning a cold and dark piece of metal into a poisonous snake takes time. Paul makes sure the temperature is exactly right, which is above 500 degrees, and if it's not right, this will not allow him to bend, twist, and deform the metal. In order to make the head as flat as can be, Paul has to add an even amount of pressure to each side. Shortly after all of his edits, he will start to get a peek of what his goal is. The goal can only be met if he is able to fold each side of the metal into one straight line to portray the snake's body. The last step to get the snake's body perfect is that Paul must close the gaps. Once he powers through a long days of work, and sometimes even weeks, he will finally see the finished product he's been dreaming of. Endurance, determination, and patience are the keys to being a blacksmith, and Paul has proven he has each and every one of those in his blood. Working hard was never a problem when it came to Paul. His projects were enough evidence, and every day he ends his shift a couple hours after his lunch when he is tired from a day's work. He packs up his trucks and head home, leaving the area. Even though he is gone for the day, his presence is still felt and will leave everyone with a spark to talk about as they wait for his next arrival.